But let's move forward. That 2020 mindset is not our 2024 mindset.
Like, why would you still believe that rich people don't pay taxes? Why do people run around saying that and trying to make people believe that the more money you have, the more ability you have to not pay taxes because you know all these loopholes? That's again crazy to not pay any taxes at all. That's kind of crazy. And if I have a business that's losing $20,000 a year, how long am I going to have that business?
That's
Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Are we talking about the sense or the sense? Which one are we talking about?
And stuff like that for returns. Not a legitimate return.
Not a legitimate return. Real? I thought this was only on TV.
No, this is real.
is that a lot of people thought, the bigger my refund is, or how many kids I have, or like all this stuff. I'm like, God, we got to get out of that mindset.
Backwards.
Yeah, it's a backwards mindset. But let's move forward. That 2020 mindset is not our 2024 mindset.
Correct.
Absolutely. I look at it like this. Paying taxes is a sign of success. I'm not saying that you should just want to give all your money away that you just made, but to have to pay some taxes and for your taxes to go up means you made more money.
Oh, so great.
It's crazy, like some of the stuff that we share between each other. When you see people who actually make money, what do they talk about? I have to leave money away for taxes and stuff like that. And then you have all these experts who are on here who are saying, well, he has the wrong CPA. He's talking to the wrong person because if you own a business, you shouldn't be paying any taxes at all. And you watch those type of things and you see people going to jail and you see people having to pay all these fines and all this stuff. So it's like, why would you still believe that rich people don't pay taxes? Why do people run around saying that and trying to make people believe that the more money you have, the more ability you have to not pay taxes because you know all these loopholes? Again, there are things out here. We're not saying that there aren't things out here that can help you to reduce your taxes, but to walk around, like I say, my goal is to not pay taxes. That's kind of crazy. To not pay any taxes at all, that's kind of crazy. Something as simple, I know it sounds crazy, something as simple as somebody who owned a business all their life and they never pay taxes. I'll give you an example. I had a client, we were doing his taxes, and he kept on saying, I don't want to pay taxes, I don't want to pay taxes, I don't want to pay taxes, I don't want to pay taxes. Then he got hurt. Then he called up to the workforce, and they're like, you don't have a business. Your business doesn't make any money. You haven't been putting money into Medicaid, you haven't put money into unemployment, none of that stuff. So now it's my fault. But I'm telling you, you need to be putting money away. When you pay money on your taxes, you're paying money for Social Security, you're paying money into Medicaid and stuff like that, things that you're going to need later on in life. But today, the only thing you're concerned about is, on April 15th, I don't want to pay any taxes. I don't need to pay any taxes. And you're like, it doesn't, when you, like I said, when we're talking about your future plans for your business or for you personally, it's like I said, I pay myself a salary to give myself the ability to put money into my solo 401k. I have to show my business and me personally making money to be able to put money into an IRA. I pay money because the money that I'm paying taxes on is going to Social Security. I know everybody believes by the time we get to Social Security, there isn't going to be any. That's not true. It'll be the purge out here if there's no Social Security. Most people, that's all they live on is Social Security. So to sit here and say there's going to be no Social Security is absolutely crazy. They're going to keep on making adjustments to keep having Social Security. There's no way there's never going to be any Social Security. But there are people who are walking around today, like she said, who are saying, I don't want to pay into anything. And that might be great if you're what we call self-insured or you have all this money, but most of the people who are saying that have no money. They're
Don't
not
want
saving
to
to
pay
anything.
into anything.
They don't want to pay into anything and they don't have anything. Most people who say that, they really don't have anything. It's one thing if I'm putting it into real estate or I'm doing all these other different things, but the people who are most excited, it's like when we talk about your target audience. The target audience of the type of people who have these conversations are the people who really and truly don't have money. And that's why that excites them.
So when you talk about putting into your solo 401k,
Correct.
places like that, paying into Social Security, is that a deduction?
Yeah.
So
Just like if I was W-2'd somewhere, if I put money into my 401k at my regular job, that money's tax deferred. So the solo 401k is the same way.
So with that being said, if we want to maximize our deductions, it should be less about going on trips, eating meals, buying cars, and more about putting it into tax deferrable vehicles, right?
Correct.
So there's investments. That's a great thought process, because the big thing that was on social media was everybody was getting an S corp. They immediately started their business, and so many, I hate to say it, but CPAs were saying you need to be an S corp without any kind of revenue, nothing. There's so many regulations. The other thing too with these tax strategies, because it's tax planning, tax strategies, but make sure you're doing it correctly. You know, you have to open up a solo 401k to use that vehicle. These are all strategies and planning, but you have to do each step to make it tax planning, not tax fraud, not tax evasion. And you have to think of the bigger picture too. Long-term effects of not putting into Social Security, just doing an owner's draw and not really collecting a salary, not using a payroll provider, because they're going to do all of that. There's so many strategies you can ask about, and you have to look at your financial situation where it best fits your needs. Everybody's different. You can't, it's not a broad brushstroke, you know?
It's crazy, like she said, when I meet a client, and sometimes you have to really think about it, because, you know, you're looking at the past year's returns and stuff like that or whatever. Or when I first meet with a client, I'm like, what type of business are you? And they're usually like, everybody just says, oh, I'm an LLC. And then when you keep on talking, then they'll say, oh, I'm an S corp, or I'm a partnership. And it's like, well, do you know that you need to do this return? And it's like, no, but they just said I need to be an S corp. And then you're like, well, why are you an S corp? And like, I just know that they told me. And then like you said, well, do you know you're supposed to be paying yourself a salary? Do you know that there's no purpose of being an S corp if you're going to come in here and show your business it's negative? Because the main reason why people become S corps is
they have enough profit to do the payroll fees and give themselves a salary.
And the K1 that comes over, you don't pay any self-employment tax on.
No.
Yeah, you're not double taxed.
Correct.
So it sounds like these are some of the lesser known deductions, not the popular ones, not the out front ones.
No.
Any other deductions that when you meet with your client and you bring it up, they're like, wow, I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know that was a deduction.
I think one tip I'd like to give everybody is if you can't go to your advisor, we talked about this, can't go to your advisor and they can't completely explain all of the restrictions and all of the legalese and process that it's going to take. One of your questions is about employing your children, which is a tax strategy. But there's steps that you have to take in order to get that tax strategy to make it a tax plan and not tax fraud. So make sure you know each step you're going to have to take when you become an S corp, the restrictions and regulations. It's a lot to it, you know, and that's why you should have a resource, you know, guiding you. I always say we're on a path together, and I'm providing them with a flashlight.
So
one of the biggest ones, one of the very first videos I saw, and again, I'm not going to mention that guy again today.
Don't mention any names.
Was when he said the part about he had a Toro business and he had a Mustang, and he said the Mustang brought in $5,000 of revenue, and he had $25,000 in losses. So he said it was a $20,000 loss, and he saved all this money in taxes by showing a $20,000 loss. The only way that's possible is if he's working a job, because if you just show a tax return with $20,000 in losses, there are no taxes. So you'd have to have an actual you'd have to actually work somewhere. And I use the example of, okay, so he's at a job making $100,000 a year. He takes the $20,000 loss, he brings his AGI down to $80,000, and that's a tax savings. Why couldn't you just take that $20,000 and take that out of your job? What do you mean? Put the $20,000 into my 401k. It's not dollar for dollar, but at least I'm not losing $20,000 if I have legitimate $25,000 in losses. And if I have a business that's losing $20,000 a year, how long am I going to have that business?
That's the other thing too, Eric, that I wanted. So I did a workshop yesterday, and one of the participants was like, yeah, I was told I had a hobby.
Yep.
So do you have a business or do you have a hobby? And the IRS flagged it as a hobby.
That's the other part. They don't tell you that. that everybody's like, oh, I'm just going to get a business and I can write everything off and show the business negative. Everybody knows that if you have a business that's negative for 3 out of 5 years, it becomes a hobby. So all you can do now is, if you're getting 1099s or whatever for the business, all you can do is zero it out. You can't continue to keep showing the business negative. And so, again, what's the purpose? Again, to me, it would make no sense to me to have a business that is continually losing money every year. That doesn't make any sense to me. But there are people, and Amy will tell you, there are people who come in and they'll try to say that their business is losing money every year. So you would think, as an advisor, you would say, you need to figure out what you're doing because this business is working. And again, like the video I sent you where they were all like, you're killing her dream. You're killing her dream. When the guy was like, you need to go get a job. You need to go get a job. You're not making any money. And she's like, but it's going to work. It's going to do this. And everybody's like, you're killing her dream. You're killing her dream. And I get it, because just from a personal standpoint, I did quit my job to start my business. And I did struggle for a couple of years until it grew. So I would never tell anybody you can't do it. But I'm not going to lie, my wife and I had a conversation, and she was like, you might really need to think about going to get a job. We really had that conversation. And so, like she said, we're really and truly out here. We're not these social media people who've never had a business, who are just telling you stuff that you could tell by the way they're talking. There's no way you had a business for you to tell people these type of things. And so when I see people do these type of things and say these things, it's like, it doesn't work like that. Like, again, like the thing with the Mustang, to me, I would rather, if I had a business that was losing $20,000 a year, I'd rather take that $20,000 and move that into my 401k.
Well,
I'd rather put it into something else that at least I'm seeing that money grow, as opposed to continue having a business that's losing money. And again, it's not where he's saying, oh, I did this and it's going to grow. No, your whole thing is you're bragging about the fact that you have a business that's losing money.
Okay.
That's the point.
Okay. Because when I first heard you, in my mind, I'm wondering, is this the first year of the business?
Nope, he was actually bragging about it.
So it was multiple years of losing 20.
Well, that was his first year. But the point was, they were celebrating not like that. It was like, I wouldn't be celebrating if my business lost $20,000 this year.
Yeah, because...
And it's on social media.
If you're just losing year after year, it becomes a loss. But if you're using the business to do your personal stuff, and so it was you was gonna spend $20,000 on what you wanted anyway, on the Mustang or whatever. But now, because I put it in the LLC, I can write it off as a business, and then I can reduce my taxes.
Correct.
That became his play, right?
That became the play.
That became the play.
Correct.
That person must not be married. That's all I've got to say.
Okay, why do you say that? Why do you say that? Give us
your
that
partner,
perspective.
I mean, think
Because
about.
your spouse would say, you got to do something.
You have to. How are you?
This is losing
You're
money.
not, attributing to our empire.
Correct.
How are you building an empire with me if you're always taking a $20,000 loss?
But he's not. He's buying $20,000 worth of stuff he was going to buy anyway.
But okay, great. But can you afford to do that? That's the point.
I don't know. I don't know.
It's almost like the person saying,
you might.
It's almost like the person saying, I'm going to Dubai.
Oh, yeah,
Or I'm
yeah,
doing these things. Can your business really afford it? Again, like I said, it goes back to everybody's impressed because you're sitting on top of a Lamborghini, and
It's rented.
most of the people are renting.
hey.
They're renting them.
And
And you were all excited because he's telling you can write it off, and they're renting them. They're doing these videos, renting these things, trying to make you believe that they really and truly, and that, again, not to try to be funny, my car is not rented. And I don't even talk about it. But
And you
people who are-
won't let me do videos with you in
and
it
the people
either.
who are renting these things are the ones who are doing these videos to make you believe that they're successful and they can help you be successful when they're not even successful themselves. That
got a
doesn't make
business
any
idea.
sense.
We have to get more comfortable being in our own skin, not having to have a label on us, not having to show wealth. Just be wealth.
Just be you.
Just be you. Yeah, we had to get more comfortable with that. Yeah, and the more
I mean,
money you
it's-
have, the
it's-
more comfortable you are in your skin.
It's the validation that these labels create for us. It makes you feel like someone looks at you better now because you have this Fendi, Gucci, Louis on your clothing.
Well, it's funny because now they have an electronic. You can scan
That
a
jewelry's
label.
fake. That clothing.
No.
Oh,
You can literally buy a shirt at Walmart or something, and then they put Prada on there. And so
you don't know any different.
You don't know any different. You don't
it's
know
fake.
any.
No,
It's all a facade.
I feel good because I spent this much on it. Yeah. I feel good because I got something that you couldn't get. That's the mindset that these people have.
Well,
even though I'm absolutely broke.
Absolutely broke.
With it.
But